bring a new attorney?
He was before something came up, so hopefully the next week, we should he took the bar and waiting the results, so he's acting as a clerk in our office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nick, what's his last name?
Ennis, Nick Ennis, he's from Austin. Yeah, we just hired him about a month ago. He is actually Judge Ariarte's law.
Oh, okay.
They're almost finished though.
How about Zach? What is Zach doing?
He should be coming back from part 2 of training.
Yeah, he's in the reserve or something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Air Guard, okay.
Yes.
Or guard or something.
Okay.
But we need. But they're almost finished. So, yeah, he's customs or. Just ask them to. Police. He's customs.
The Raymond,
Raymond, yeah.
he's
That's
a
the husband. I mean,
uncle.
no, that's the father. Father, I mean grandfather. I was thinking about Elaine's, oh, Elaine, that's the uncle. No, Elaine's the
Son.
No, well, it's her boyfriend now?
Elaine is the mom of
Raymond?
Raymond,
Yes. Madam Chair, Legacy Patna, he's 4 minutes away at 5:26.
so it's later already.
He said he's not late, but he said you can start.
We can start?
Yes.
It's 5:29?
We
Oh,
got
wait, one more minute.
One more, oh. We're not, as soon as we're on live stream, so that will let us know.
Wait, so Nick is the Damian. Nick is the Damian?
Yeah.
Nick Ennis is from
No,
Austin.
oh,
But
Zach.
Zach.
Zach is the
The
Damian.
one you already know.
Sorry, it's been a long week. And who is his father?
I don't know Zach's dad's name.
See, but his aunt is Glenda and
Julie.
Julie and Raymond. Raymond's the uncle.
The
But
younger brother, right?
That's
The older.
He's the older.
Raymond's older, so I'm thinking it's the younger brother. Raymond's a doctor, I think in San Francisco. Yeah,
Thing is,
he's like
Gerard is
a.
the father.
Gerard is the
Yes,
father.
Gerard is the
Gerard is the
younger.
father.
So the Gerard's the younger one.
Yeah.
Raymond's like I think a neurosurgeon or neuro doctor
Yeah, he's a doctor.
in
Raymond.
in San Fran.
Gerard is the one also for in somewhere in the middle. As a father of.
Oh, you guys can have a seat over there. Oh, you can walk in front. It's okay. It's not live yet.
It's 5:30.
Our shy new employees.
The new Guam Election Commission employees?
Yes, ma'am.
Hoorah.
So before we start, I can
Sure.
introduce you. So, you know, we pick up election clerks for the to help us with motor voter, to catch up with motor voters. So last time you met Sky Fujikawa. Here we have Joanne and Lauren and Diana.
Can I ask, can we move the mask so we know their face?
Oh. They're very shy,
Yeah,
Colonel.
but, yeah, it's okay,
Yeah.
but you know, we don't wanna,
And we just brought them in. They've started working since, 2 of them since last Saturday and 1 of them yesterday. So
thank you. Welcome aboard.
Very new.
thank
you.
you. And this is our real process. Okay? And so
Thank
they
you.
can go back to work now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So, are we on? On? Okay. I'm gonna call this, meeting to order. It's Thursday, May 5th, 2022, 5:32 p.m. The meeting of the Guam Election Commission regular meeting, GEC Conference Room, 2nd floor, Oka Building, Tamuning, Guam, is now called to order. Right? Certification of public notice requirements.
Ma'am, they were posted April 28th and May 2nd.
And I do apologize, there is certification of a quorum present. We have en route independent member Pat Sabel. Otherwise, all members present. And present at the table is myself, Chairperson Alice Tyron, our Vice Chair Jerry Crisostomo, Ms. Antonia Gumatautau, Mr. Benny Pinala, Commissioner Gumatautau, Commissioner Pinala, Commissioner Joseph P. Mofnis, Commissioner Carissa Pangilinan, En route is Commissioner Pat Seville. Also present is our legal counsel, Jerry Diaz, and the Executive Director, Maria Pangilinan. So item number 3, we have the approval of the agenda. Can I get a
So move.
second? All right. Approval of the agenda, subject to any technical corrections, correct, Rick? Okay. All right, item number 4, oath of office. So I'm going to administer the oath of office to Carissa Pangilinan, representing the Democrat Party of Guam, for another 2 years. So Carissa, you have the oath before you. Just state your name and repeat after me. Okay. I
Carissa Pangilinan,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
in the presence of Almighty God
in the presence of Almighty God
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States,
the laws of the United States applicable to Guam,
the laws of the United States applicable to Guam,
and the laws of Guam,
and the laws of Guam,
and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Guam Election Commission.
and that I will conscientiously and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Guam Election Commission.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
legit.
Thank you. Fitna and Said. Oh, Fitna and Dave. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to beat Jerry's record of 28 minutes.
I'm right behind. I love it.
All right. Approval of the minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, that was approval of the agenda. We have our March 17th, 2022 GEC regular meeting. Can I get a motion, please? Did everybody get a chance to review that? Yep. Okay, moved by Commissioner. Okay, second? Second by Commissioner Pangilinan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved, subject to technical corrections. And I do apologize, item 3 was the approval of the agenda, and that was moved by Commissioner Mofnes and seconded by Commissioner Gubatata. Correspondence, Maria?
Madam Chair, our public hearing is scheduled for May 16th for the supplemental budget request. Letter B, we received a grant award notice of $200,000 for this fiscal year. And it's because of our change of address, we will be receiving it hopefully in May, possibly in June.
200,000 per okay. Do we have any questions for the Executive Director regarding the appropriation for the of $609,000? Any questions regarding the grant award? How did they determine the award, Maria? What is
It's a formula. All our territories receive, all U.S. territories receive $200,000, except Puerto Rico, that receives a lot more.
Okay. And previously we received 1.2 mil?
Well, 600,000 three times.
Okay.
So the
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
All right. And I do understand you're up to date. There's reporting required, right?
Yes,
You're up to date.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Kudos to Liz Santos, Sabette Santos. She does our federal grants.
Thank you, Liz. All right, no
That-
questions on items A or B. We'll move on to item 4 or 6C.
So we noticed on the legislature message and communications that we received, if you look on page 11, we received 6,241 toward the bottom of the page as one of the transfers from the governor. We did see it in our budget, in our account, but And we did receive it.
Okay. Good. Any questions from the commissioners? For the record, independent member Pat Savell is present. Thank you, Commissioner Savell.
Thank you.
Did you need a little bit of time to review it? If you had any questions, we are on item 6C, the April 4, 2022 general fund transfer. Otherwise, there's no questions. None? Okay. And we can go back if there's questions for the commissioners. Item number 7, Maria, Executive Director's Report.
The timeline starts on page 12. We're right on track. We received our ballot stock on May 2nd as anticipated. We closed the bid and we pushed out a notice of intent to award as we continue to prepare for the early voting center. And one more thing that I want to ask is, as you all know, it's time for precinct official recruitment for both parties. And I would like to propose that and get approval from the commissioners to see if we can conduct an actual precinct official training for the party leaders so they will know what their precinct officials are up to. I've talked to a couple on both sides, and they're in agreement to coming to the training. So I think it'd be good for them to know what they go through, and it would be like 2.5 to 3 hours. It may be shorter if they don't have questions. So it would be like one time in mid-June. By that time, we will have our new conference room across the way, and so that's where we plan to conduct it. And so if I have your blessing, I'll send out notice to them.
Yeah.
Move a motion to approve?
Do you need motion or anything?
Yeah, I wanted, because it's not on a regular, it's not a regular
okay.
thing, so.
So it's, you need a motion for us to allow party leadership?
Mhm.
Do we need to clarify what leadership means? Are these party officers, or is it just the party from the, be specific with what it is that you
Thank
want?
So we would like to see the party officers there, as well as, at least the party officers, as well as the points of contacts for precinct officials. Both parties have designated points of contacts for the precinct officials. So we would like to see them there. If we have more seats available, we can invite them to bring more people, but we don't know yet how many we can accommodate in that room.
Okay. Can I just recommend that you may potentially have to schedule more days in advance?
I make a motion to approve.
Oh, to make it in a motion first.
Yes.
Yeah, she's making the motion.
Yeah, making a
okay.
motion to
Yeah.
approve, that we approve training for the party officials. Again, the definition of party officials will be the officers plus designated precinct officials, right?
The designated precinct official points of
Point of
contact.
Okay.
POC.
POCs.
Okay. So motion on the floor,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Montanez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Pinal.
Madam Chair, if I could just interject, because it's a little bit relevant to this. It came to my attention a few days ago that, I try to control these things, but it turns out one of the staff in my office is aligned with a political party. And she wants permission to recruit to precinct workers. And so I just wanted to let you know,
He's doing his job.
she's doing this without any guidance from your independent member. And, yeah, so, but I wanted to let the parties know this. So there may be, unless there's objection, there may be several people from my staff who she recruits.
Wow.
Good for
Okay.
her.
Okay.
I hope she's on my party.
You know, I try to weed these people, but I tell you, just don't know who to trust.
Oh, all the years.
All the years,
First
you know?
time, wow.
Thank you, Commissioner. What is your?
Maria, how many precinct officials for each party?
So half of 335,
198.
yeah, and then alternates. We let them know to give. So I think everybody knows how we divvy it out because there are 5. So because the Democrats are a majority in Agana Precinct 1, it'll be 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. Precinct 2 in Assen will be 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats, and that's how we go.
Yeah, alternate.
Okay.
Madam Chair, are we still on the timeline?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I have 2 questions, if I might, please, just to clear my evaluation. When you say precinct official training, and you said, for example, JIGO, FBLG, right? Do we know who are going to be at the FBLG, or you just consolidated everything? And then the other one, it says DL Paris.
No, we know who are going to be there
So you already know by then
Yes.
who is going to be on that
Yes,
precinct?
yes. The deadline for parties to submit their nominees is July 6th.
Yeah, that was, okay, and then, thank you for that. And then the next question I have, I might be reading it wrong though. On page 20, okay, on item, I guess it's Wednesday, November 23rd, deadline to receive count primary election absentee ballot and provisional ballot, is that correct?
General, sorry. Thank you, sir.
Is general?
Yeah.
Again,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Alphonse. Good catch. Okay, election timeline. Any questions on the election timeline? Any other? Okay. Candidate packet, Maria?
So we had 75 sign out. Probably the new ones that you may not have are number 72 or 71, or maybe 7. You have it all there, but those are the newer ones from the last
I
time.
think 61 to
61,
75.
yeah, yes. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Pinella. It's 61 to 75 are the new ones.
Interesting. Any questions with our candidate packet sign out log? Organizational reports?
We have now active 24 campaign committees.
Great. Any questions with our organizational report?
Madam Chair, today we received our 5th candidate filing. So we now have 5 candidates who have filed. 4 of them we already contacted the candidates and let them know that they submitted all the requirements.
Okay. Are we gonna have candidate training? That should be
We're
in the timeline,
we're
right?
still
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it,
the
we're still
timeline.
doing it,
You
yes.
should- Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. RB monthly voter precinct.
Okay. Please know that you have before you only March. We are working to finalize our April with our motor voter. We want to make sure that we include the motor voter for the April reports. We should be getting it no later than next week.
Go ahead, Maria.
Okay. Again, on online motor voter, we're still, we continue to work on it. I think, I'll give you a rough number. We looked at 3,924 files, and our, right now, I cannot confirm, but right now, our number is 722 new registrants just from motor voter.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not, we're still working on it to confirm that number, but that's what it looks like at this time.
722?
722, sir.
So is that in addition to the 50,226?
Yes, is that the number from, yes, that would be the number,
So it should be added.
addition.
We could
Addition.
potentially hit 60,000?
51.
51.
51, I'm sorry, 51.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You add the 700.
Okay.
We just need to get them out to them.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so 50,226 right now.
Remember, Commissioner, the late Commissioner Tim Paris always wanted to
Take it away.
find out of the new voter registrars that registration, new voters that were registered, how many of those actually showed up?
Come
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
And we gave him in the past. And he wasn't very
Yeah,
happy.
it's very,
Wasn't very happy.
Yeah.
So we sign up a lot of people, but they don't show up to vote.
But maybe the parties can help us get
Yeah,
some.
it's a great issue. Maria, can I just ask, we're still on monthly voter by precinct report, correct?
Yes.
Well, sort of.
Oh,
Is it, our logistics team went out, right? Or our site teams went out?
oh.
Where's that? Is there Deredo, we have Finnegan, NCS, EPAPA?
We have
Oh, we're not
Benevente.
voting in, at Benevente anymore?
Yes, look to the right now. It's
Oh.
Okuda High School, Benevente, and Guam. I know Benevente.
And Benevente's been such a danger, because it's, area is so dark at night, right?
Yeah,
And it's like right along the
Huh?
road.
So like, it's too late to move it?
I think so. And then we have early voting, so
Okay.
we should take care of that.
You anticipate that's going to relieve some of the stress?
Mhm.
You know, Madam Chair, I brought it up way back in the previous meeting about Benevente when I did my after-action report, and that's a dangerous place to do that, and I guess we didn't act on it to move that place out. Because remember, even, it's very dark, we have to hire or rent from Dunkin' to put up all the spotlight and all that. So I guess my concern here is that maybe we have to look at it seriously for the next elections,
One of the other things that the Madam Chair has always a big proponent of is go to even, other non-government places.
I mean, is there anything wrong with going to a private school that would open their doors or charge us rent for it? Is there anything wrong going to a gym, that's
Air conditioning.
air conditioned, and it's just been, you vote in Deredo,
That's
Yeah.
actually my
that's your
polling site.
polling site, and I've been there, I visit it every year, and it's so dark and dangerous,
Do we use Ujoa another one, or is that used to be?
Used to be, we moved
Used to
from
be,
there.
we have, but then, because of the
Right.
congestion of traffic,
Yeah, so when we decided on the 3 polling sites, maybe 3 election cycles before, we went through with the mayor and the GPD.
Yeah.
And that's how we arrived at the 3 schools for them.
Okay.
I
So-
would suggest that, as we're moving forward on, deciding maybe an alternate location, is that the mayor will have maybe like a town hall for residents? Because you're talking about 3,538
Yeah.
voters that will be affected. And so, they should have some sort of voice in terms of where they would like to have an alternate location, or if they like to prefer to stay in that location.
Yeah, that's a terrible question.
Do you like
But
No, no,
it,
no.
it would be up to the
Here's one.
residents.
Santa Barbara has a gym. They doesn't have a gym, right?
They do, they have a gym.
Who, Dedham?
Santa Barbara?
No, Santa Barbara does.
But
but
the
the
Dedham,
village of
the
Dedham
village of
doesn't have
Dedham,
one.
No,
It's just the senior
enclosed one.
center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a close one.
So, and I've asked for this, I know that I have, at least several elections back, and we still haven't
The
done it.
last election.
So, for me, at this point, and I don't know how the commissioners feel, that's a good idea, hold the town meeting, work with the mayor, and start identifying someplace else other than Benavente. It's dangerous.
It is.
It's, I mean, even for people on the outside there, it's dangerous, like, it's scary, it's dark, so.
Well, that's where there was a bad accident that
Yep.
hit the mayor,
The
right?
mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was there.
Yep.
And so would the commissioners be open to other than non-government locations?
Is there anything
Is
that
it-
prohibits us?
Is there anything in the law that states we have to hold it in a government facility?
Hold is
I can
very,
check in the back seat.
Okay,
I think what we should do is go ahead and have it checked first, and then we can study the
thank you,
option
Jerry.
on how we're gonna do it. No, seriously, that's always been my,
Because we had this
you know,
discussion.
is the Benavente, because it's really bad.
Okay. Thank you.
So Jerry, when you get back, then we can discuss it further, and then we'll see what's the option.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
All right. Volunteer voter registrar report?
Okay, so that's on page 27. Did we reach, we reached 50 for the Democrats. We want to ask if we could increase in the past, we've asked to increase the number to 75, but it's up to the commission to ask.
Per
I mean,
party?
Per
75
party,
per party?
yes, yes.
So Democrat has 50?
49, I'm sorry.
49 or 46?
46 is shown here.
I think it's updated.
That's an update, and,
Now-
I
yes.
got the update.
We now, Colonel, volunteer registrars who have been volunteer registrars in the past can come in and sign up, and pick up their packet. So that's why it's pretty dynamic nowadays.
Okay, so individuals can register to vote DRT, motor voter, they can register here. There's volunteer registrars out, and then the mayor's offices. Is there any place else that they can, online, they can actually register online? Okay. Yes.
How does, I noticed we have some Republican registrars under no party affiliation. I'm not sure why they didn't put a party, but how do they change that to indicate they're a Republican?
They can let us know. They come to us right now once a month. They come to us now once a month, and so when they come in, they can change it.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed that list.
Yeah, because
that,
turn in your
That's
form.
okay.
All 30 of them are yours?
no.
The
I
question
I was
is,
gonna say, are
every year,
all
But we
30
identify 10.
and the question is,
out of the
why is it no party affiliation and not
Oh.
So we don't know
independent?
why
You're
this is.
stealing my independent base and co-opting it with this no party affiliation.
Your
But
other-
Commissioner Pat Seville.
But you have your own patches.
Yes, Commissioner
independent.
Pat Seville, you have your volunteer registrars that indicate independent.
We're assuming, that 30 no party affiliation of Republicans.
In the
They
past,
don't know
they
any
have.
better to put a party.
In the past, they have, yeah.
Okay.
So going back to Marina's question, moving it to 75, are we putting that into some sort of a motion or what?
No, I think,
If you don't want it,
No.
let us know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways that, do you want to increase it? Can we maybe take it up at the next meeting?
The problem with taking up at the next meeting, we might have to turn people away. But it's okay, I mean, that's if they come in.
Yeah, we can table it and then we can
Yeah,
address it the
okay.
next meeting.
Yeah.
Table it for now.
They can come in and say, no party affiliation. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Next meeting.
Or you-
That has passed.
I mean, and just for, there's so many ways, and then Maria, you guys are out of the high schools, correct?
We're We were at 2.
You're at 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, did you mention the mayor's offices that they can?
Yes.
Yeah.
So individuals, members of the
It's
public
easy,
who want
yeah.
to register, update their information, change their, in whatever the case may be, right? They can register here at the Guam Election Commission in the Oka building. They have volunteer registrars out. They can also register online at gec.guam.gov. And there's a little purple box that says register online here, right? They can do that. Did I miss anything?
Mayor's office.
The mayor's offices,
And motor voters.
and then motor voter, DRT. There's a lot of places to be able to register, trying to make it as accessible as possible. Well, we can revisit the increase.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I have one question.
Okay. Our finance.
Wait, yes.
So when, just to clarify, when a registrar or a volunteer wants to register, be a voter registrar, does the party submit that, or do they just come in and say, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat?
They just come in.
They just
Can't
come.
just.
Really?
They just come.
Do you want to change that?
But that's up to the parties, right? Like anybody
Yeah,
can
but-
come in and volunteer, so,
I mean, I'm concerned, if the Democrats are maxed at 50, they may come in and say, I'm a Republican.
No. they'll
And I
come in
don't
and
know
say
as a
other.
party.
They'll
that-
say other, or they'll say
They won't.
independent.
They won't.
No party
Trust me.
affiliation.
One way
You know,
or
Don't
because
worry,
they're-
we won't take your
Because they're
slots.
slots. Yeah, they're slots.
He's worried we'll take
You know,
your
unless
One way
the
or the
party
other, you're-
approves them being a registrar.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On
no,
behalf
we
of
know
the
what
party.
you
How do you
It's
want
up
to
to
do it?
you as the
Yeah.
chair
So what do you want to do, sir?
No, I mean,
no, they won't.
I just
to.
think
We won't.
for a volunteer registrar, I think the party should approve them being one and then come into the commission to say their party affiliation.
Oh,
Or
they're
not?
They're attending the listening tour. So we know they're not Republicans, or maybe they're Republicans supporting the listening.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
That's likely what it is.
Or they are just Democrats. And
So what did you want us to do now, sir?
Well, I mean, Jerry would check if there's any, but I think the party should
Thank you.
approve whoever is
Yeah.
wanting to be a registrar,
And
that
they
they
approve
know
it.
that they
has this
really
ever
are.
come up where a party has contacted you and said that someone who had signed up as, say, a Republican or a Democrat
No.
was not,
Yeah.
Maybe
No.
they switched.
It could be, but
it's never
So
come
you
up.
want them to get
Not
off?
since we've been here. Pashano, yeah, he's in charge of voter
Vice
registration.
Chair wants
It's
to-
a lot
To
of
my
work to be a
knowledge,
registrar.
no. To my knowledge, no, it's never happened.
It never happened.
yeah, because the ultimate goal is to register people. It doesn't
People,
matter what
yes.
Yeah.
party they affiliate with.
But it's gotten easier to register. Way
So much
easier.
Yeah.
easier.
To become a registrar.
To become a
Two.
registrar and register people.
And if you have been in the past, isn't it just a swearing in kind of thing now?
Oh,
If you didn't have
Right,
any
Tatiana,
issues.
right?
if
if you-
Pashano, if they don't have any issues with Pashano,
It's as simple as like
Yes.
raising your right hand and
Yes.
getting,
Yeah,
like,
So
no
for
more
instance,
training, no more sitting in a.
Yeah, if an individual
Yeah.
wants to be a
Yeah.
Republican registrar, we'll send it to our party leader in that village that they decide or vote in, just to validate whether
easy
he's a
enough.
Republican. And he'll register Republicans and Democrats, but he's,
I'm gonna
if
find
we're
out
labeling the
those two
registrars as a party, I think the party
Yeah.
needs to have a say.
Why did we do that, Maria?
Since forever, even before,
Really?
we picked up a 1983.
And it's probably to also be fair, right, to
Yeah.
the parties, everybody has an
So
equal
what
number.
number? Dominate all the numbers.
Well, historically, right, we,
Yeah.
now you see the voter register numbers are moving up quite a bit, but back in the days, right, we just didn't have that many people, voting, and, it was very manageable. So, yeah, I think we're growing, and I think we need to move in that direction. And Jerry, if you take a look at the law.
And we'll take it up at the next meeting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good suggestion.
Only because I want that number 11. I'm trying to claim the 30.
Why do they have to?
They just put a party.
They can come in.
But we can look at it, again, the beauty of it is you can go online and take a look at it.
Yeah.
Financial report?
We have them as of April 18th. We're doing okay. The public hearing is May 16th. And we still have our continuing appropriations that are still made available to us.
Maria, we've cleaned up any, what is it called, prior year
Yeah,
obligations,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, yes.
That's phenomenal.
They're gonna ask you.
The-
They will ask you.
So-
At your
You're good on the,
Actually,
your.
Actually,
We
we
just
had
finished
one this year, but what happened was they didn't bill us, so we couldn't pay them. I don't remember if it was GPD or one of them, one of our.
Will that become a prior year obligation?
It was, and so we sent in a report to the legislature.
They still only have 18 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Financial disclosure statements.
The list, it starts on page 31. Everybody that needed to file full financial disclosure filed on time or requested for an extension on time. The boards and commissions, we still have some coming in.
Oh, the conflict of interest.
$371 total.
Members of boards and commissions only file the conflict of interest, correct?
Yes, unless they have potential conflict, like if they're working for a company that deals with the agency, they will file only that section of the financial disclosure. They don't have to do full financial disclosure.
So you got 34 requested for extension, and you have 151 yet to file conflict of interest.
That's correct. Commissioner Benny, one of our challenges with boards and commissions is we know when they start, but we don't know when their terms end.
Correct.
So we
Yeah.
don't have a good grasp on who still needs to file.
Right.
Maria, isn't there a banking and insurance commission?
I think they're listed under revenue and tax.
Oh,
No?
Yes.
okay,
Page 32.
gotcha.
Are you a member?
No?
Yeah, usually that will be the director and deputy who fill that position.
From the industry. So most times they do file a section in the financial disclosure.
Any questions with our financial? We're good. Maria, you know the question with regard to the updated listing for newly registered voters? So the last one received or published was March, end of March. When is April going to be available?
By next week. We want to make sure that, by the way, we launched our central voter registry system, and that comes in at an opportune time because it makes doing voter easier and much faster. So by next week, we will have April.
Now, standard, how long does it take after the end of the month?
Normally, we have it up on the 30th. We'll have you a report like 3 days later or 4 days later.
You have the registration, the
We have
updated
an updated.
voter registration,
Yes,
right, by the
yes.
end of the month?
Yes.
Like 3 days after?
But please give us a little bit more time with voter.
I understand. And the issue this time, the delay this time is the number of voter registrars. And I don't know if the commissioners are aware, I actually got to see how it's done. It's, I think Jack did an amazing job. So when somebody registers online or even via voter motor, right? That's manual. It comes into the Guam Election Commission, and the Guam Election Commission has to manually upload it, And then they have to manually look at the central voter registration list to ensure that everything's okay with them, and of course the DMV, right? And then they have to manually upload it onto the central voter registration list, right? So it was Jack, what he did was, which cuts down potentially 10 minutes. You add that to thousands, and that's many hours, right? 10, 15 minutes, where they can download it now or upload it from the DMV. They punch in the information, it's automatically checked, viewed, and then press a button, and it's uploaded. So that saves these guys a lot of time. They've been working with thousands of motor voter registrations sheets. So not an excuse for the delay, but it's a really acceptable reason, right? So if you can if you can get that going, Maria, I think hopefully with that new system, that'll help get things up a little sooner than later.
We are, to make it much faster, we are waiting for DMV's vendor who owns the valid software, that's what it's called, to give us permission to be able to go in and see these applications that they have started scanning up there at DMV. So when that happens, it'll be much faster, because we don't have to wait for the hard copy to come to us.
It's a very long and tedious process.
What's the holdup?
They need to valid software. The vendor
Yeah.
is the holdup.
I know, but why?
We've-
They're
we've
the
asked.
problem, but
Programming, yeah.
Programming and testing that aspect of the system and integrating it into the system that they're already using at DMV. They implemented it one day and then several features kind of froze on them. And so it's still testing that and implementing it and making it a smooth transition so that the customer is not waiting for another hour at DMV while the system glitches.
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The other part is that the application form is in a folder together with all the documents, the social security card that we shouldn't have access to, so,
So everything has to be,
yeah, redacted.
Redacted.
But we shouldn't have access to that folder, we should have access only to the application form.
I think there's like a checklist on their side that they go through to determine, if the application is valid or it needs to be, fixed. And that those forms don't come through, especially if they're, spoiled. They don't come, they make it here to GC.
All of them come through, they have to all come.
Even if it's spoiled?
When spoil is, when the examiner processes it, according to the law, those applications must come to us.
Mhm.
So the spoiled ones don't get into the system. It's the ones that they processed all the way through. And sometimes the driver's license applicant doesn't pay. And we were told, I was telling them that they could have not paid, but they filled out motor voter, so even that has to come to us.
Okay. But as we finalize the list, we're not finding any issues with, they get to the precinct and they're making a vote, we're not having an issue with that? There's no hiccup?
No, well,
Yes, we wouldn't know because it would be entered in the system
Yeah.
already, right?
so.
My
yeah.
concern is if it's spoiled from the beginning, right, and you input false or, erroneous information, it comes up, and then it's a problem when they get to the precinct.
So with that said,
Yeah.
Commissioner Benny, what we have the actual application visible to us. So we always check the residential address.
Mhm.
That's, the most important for us to check is the motor voter section for a signature and whether they whether they want to register, decline, or update their registration. Those two are the most important, and also the residential address.
But the majority of our folks, when they register, they're using PO boxes.
They have, the application requires, the application for driver's license and Guam ID requires a
A
residential
physical
address.
address, okay.
Yeah.
So when I look at the voter registration listing, the VRL, the majority of people are registered
Oh,
under.
okay. That's because it's the mailing address that shows on the voter registry, not the residential address.
Not the physical address.
No.
Is that something we should look at, maybe perhaps updating?
That's something that has to go through law. It's in the law. So if that's what you want, we have to ask them to change the law.
Just so that, you know, all the documents, you know, are, they match.
That's an interesting detail you pick up on. You really looked at this.
Yes, I did.
You did, yeah.
Okay, good questions. Any further discussion?
Sorry.
I guess it's something, no, it's something that we should think about. Is that gonna be helpful, right, to the commission and for our voters and things like that? So, yeah.
We want to make it easy for everybody to register, right? But at the same time, too, we want to cut down on the errors.
Correct.
And so if you have the PO boxes and you have the physical address, that helps quite a bit. You have it in the system.
And
It
Maria,
is
I
in
mean,
the
it
system.
also, I think one of the challenges we've had previously is having to mail out when there's a referendum or something like that, that we get thousands back
Back,
because it's
yeah.
wrong, or, you know, so that's something that, yeah.
And we're always, there's always a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Every election, somebody's going to challenge, you know, I registered and it's not there. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, how do we fix those things? And so in my mind, if you match the PO boxes, you match the physical address, that goes a long way in solving that problem.
We do, but at the, at DMV, if they say they want to update,
Mm-hmm.
maybe sometimes they don't realize that if they were originally voting in Pneumatic and their residential address says Santa Rita,
Mm-hmm.
we will transfer them to Santa Rita.
Right.
We will send them a letter and maybe they won't receive the letter.
Again, that's just something we have to go back and maybe perhaps change the law. Because that is an issue for every election.
That's true, because if you send a letter and then they don't receive it, because that's not where, then, yeah.
But the online verification system has really upped the game, because as long as you have their name and their date of birth, it'll tell you where they are registered.
Right
You know
off
what I
our
mean?
website.
So if a person is adamant, they show up to Talafoco, for example, and they're like, no, I this is where I vote. Just give me your date, you know, you have their date of birth and their name on their ID. If you type it in that system, you're like, sorry, they transferred you over to Derrida. What? I never signed anything, you know, and then just like she explained,
But the
because
issue,
their ID
the issue with Guam, right, you have the proverbial John Cruz.
right,
There's
right.
300 John Cruz on Guam,
Hmm.
and some of them have the same birthday.
Yeah.
So what then?
Oh.
At that point.
We have other ways to verify with DMV.
Yeah. So again, in my mind, the more we make the system, you know, adhere to the election, the easier it becomes to manage the listing. It's easier to register people, and then you have a better outcome at the precinct. It makes it easier for everybody.
That could be a process review with DMV,
Yeah.
DRT.
You know, this is something, again, it's been an ongoing thing with our elections, and if we can address it, we should.
Because you're seeing more, an increase in your motor voter registration. now.
Biggest,
Yeah.
biggest, yeah.
Yeah. So it's,
And
it is
they're-
likely to cause discrepancies on election day.
Yeah, so that's why the girls right now, the ladies that we hired, they're filing those
That's what they're doing.
applications.
Do you attach those applications to their AORs? To
No,
AO?
because there's still some information there. What we do is we create an AOR for each one, each and every one of those. And it's automatic.
But you don't attach that original, that DMV document to that AOR?
No.
AOR?
So that's
No.
too much,
There's too much information.
more info than
Yeah,
necessary.
so what we do is we have a DMV application by precinct, and then we have our AORs by precinct. And the first thing we check is always the system, and if we don't, then we go back and look at those.
Let me just add a little bit to what Commissioner Canal was saying. If a person already has all her or his information, ID, whatever, but hasn't renewed it yet, and yet he's staying in Derrido, but then he goes down to PD and vote, because he's been voting in PD for the last 20 years. How can we identify that he's not from PD? But on his ID, he's still showing that, you know,
His precinct is PD.
yeah, he's adding to PD, but yet he's staying up in actuality, he's staying up in Derrido.
The application for Guam ID and,
No, but I'm saying, on the application.
Prior to the.
Prior to
Oh, I
that,
see.
yeah.
And updating.
An updating one, because his or her ID is not expired yet, so there's no way that he's gonna
oh
put
no,
Derrido.
there's not.
So how can we,
So we
Address that,
basically
yeah.
don't try, we
Yeah.
don't catch it till
We don't catch it.
they go into renew, or if they're honest about it.
Unless somebody challenges them,
so the only
challenging.
the only reasonable then is to challenge them?
yes.
That's right.
I think eventually, right, we gotta go in and address those issues one by one, and make it the best we can. You're not gonna fix everything, there's just no way, but the more we make it easier for people to sign up and register and, you know, change their address and all of that, it's going to be easier, you're gonna have a better outcome, you're gonna have better results. Okay? If we don't fix it, then, you know, we're gonna have to deal with, you know, these issues every election.
The delays are counted.
Yeah. So the
Our
better we make
counting,
it, the
it's
easier for
short.
all of us.
Never, well, yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay.
We have to look at it anyway.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussions on that? Wow, so we're on item 8. Right. New business. Executive Director pay adjustment. Why is new business before old business? Should we have old business? The pay adjustment?
Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah,
just be flipped.
we just needed to flip it.
Okay.
Move to
Alright.
old business.
Okay,
Move to it.
Old business, right?
yeah.
So Executive Director pay adjustment should be old business.
Well, yeah.
No,
No,
it's new
business.
because it was, if you remember, it was.
Oh, yeah, we
evaluation.
didn't, it was just the evaluation we discussed. Now we're gonna discuss our pay.
But we can discuss, the old business is quick too, Madam Chair.
Should we go to old business first? Okay. Marie, go ahead with old business.
So we looked at those bills and we started to talk to them, to talk to you about it in the past. We've sent it to both Attorney Jerry and Attorney Vince. Those two bills, again, and we had the write-up. I believe the write-up is in, oh, it's not? Oh, okay, okay. So we have, this was on your tables the last time. I can get you copies again. It has to do with the initiatives and referendums. And so it's easier, but it changes it a bunch. So there's no public hearing scheduled yet. And we can give this to you, and I'm sorry, I will send it to you today on email so that you can take a look at it.
You gave this to us last time.
Yes, I did,
Yeah.
yeah. We had talked about it too.
Okay.
That's why it's an old business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anybody have anything else with the bills? Any questions on the bills? Okay. Early voting invitation for bid?
So May 2nd was the closing of the bids. Two of we had representatives from both parties on our evaluation committee. We issued out an intent to award to Westin Hotel, who was the lowest bidder. Westin Hotel, that was the lowest bidder.
Which area?
Right there in the top,
beginning?
the very top.
Like you drive up, like,
Yeah,
oh,
don't
Yeah.
go to the bottom, just down top.
yeah, at the end.
Where the
Yes.
buses are.
Okay. It's
Oh,
it's
so-
very
Don't,
So you-
accessible.
don't go right to the street.
You issued the notice of intent to award.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have to wait 14 days,
Yes, ma'am.
the working days, or
No, 14 calendar days.
14 calendar
Yes.
days?
So it's like May 16th, May 17th.
In the event there's a protest, right? So then after that, let's say there's no protest,
We proceed. We can start, we talked to legal counsel Vince yesterday. We can start talking to them already.
okay.
But we always with the mindset that it's just an intent to award.
And so Maria, we awarded because they were the lowest bidder, that's
Yes.
procurement rules, right? So at the west end, we're looking at, when you drive in, there's the buses, where the buses used to park. So like there's a room there. There's a room there, that's the room we're looking at?
Yes,
Right. Potentially, maybe downstairs on the.
Parking.
yeah.
Well, the
Okay.
chairwoman brought up an interesting suggestion, and I totally support it, right, about driving up curbside
At the
election. So on the bottom part, you know, if you go right and you come around to the bottom, there are some tourist desks that aren't being utilized. And so it might behoove us to utilize one of those areas so that we can do curbside, you know, voting.
Yeah, the traffic, the flow, it's gonna be a challenge, right? But if we're able to do something like that, you go down, you know where the valet parking used to be,
Yeah.
or is? Just drive around, there's an office there, situate for drive up, right, for seniors and individuals with disabilities. So I'm sure that you guys are gonna look into that and discuss it, right?
We're already started.
Is there parking
Okay.
upstairs?
Yeah, where's the parking?
Where would they park?
So
For
I,
the curbside, there's no parking.
No,
No,
but
but,
for the ground, the road level, street level?
There's
Okay.
about 18 slots.
So it's upstairs where the buses usually go.
Oh, I guess. it's
So
different.
where the buses are, and it's gonna be car behind each car, so that's part of the
There's
way.
only 4 parking slots there.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think I feel like
okay.
I've turned, made a U-turn in there.
And the curbside is only for the disabled, right?
Right.
So
Yeah,
a
right.
majority of people are gonna be parking
Right.
and then have to go find them.
Yeah. So there will be 20 slots inside the parking garage.
In the area.
Dedicated to us.
Oh, so they have to go to the parking garage and
And
then.
then-
Oh,
You
God.
know, this is
I-
not sounding
It doesn't
entirely
sound-
responsive.
Yeah.
I mean, the bid requires it to be done primarily be done on one floor. And what we're talking about now is the upper level where you pull in off the street. That has a disadvantage of, it's got parking lots for buses, but for the cars, we're double counting that, but they're parking,
Yeah,
you know, back to
Back
back.
to back, yeah.
right.
And that's
That's,
not really
and then
convenient.
what are the buses, where are the buses parked? Was the tourists
Yeah.
coming back? There's gonna be
People are
buses.
gonna wanna-
Look at the
In
doors
July.
already on the back.
But then the other thing is, I mean, I like the idea you have of using downstairs where the main entrance is. I mean, that has, you know, the circle you can, or the oval you can drive around and the tour desk. But that's on a different floor, which is the problem.
So.
I mean, I think we should have, talk a little bit about the access issue.
Access is paramount here.
So how we did it in 2022 is where people walk in was on the 3rd floor and curbside was on the 1st floor. But the flow of traffic was so much, was easier. The flow of traffic was easier.
And I think the access to the 3rd floor was a lot easier too, Maria, because you come in the main entrance, there's only 2 elevators, you get up, it takes you to any of the floors you press, but at the west end,
There's an
it's
elevator.
a specific one, and
Service
if
elevator.
if you're not familiar with the west end grounds, you're not gonna find that elevator easily.
I could really see a lot of things from voters in that
Right.
first time we opened there.
Yeah.
Just to access.
Well,
it, you
trying
know.
to make it more accessible to the public.
Unfortunately, it's procurement.
I understand, but there's
Procurement.
also,
So-
specs, right, that we require. So it's lowest bidder that meets the specs, you know, of what we need, meets our needs.
Yeah.
So.
Because
I mean,
voters
that's
are,
important
they're
too.
gonna judge
Yeah.
this by 2 years ago, and they loved it.
The convenience,
Yeah.
Years ago.
the accessibility.
Yeah, the accessibility was easy. they got
Madam
out.
Chair, Commissioner Pat, I think, brought up a really good point that I think is in our bid, that it should all be on one floor.
Yeah.
That's what we had asked.
Can we discuss that right now? Legal?
Is it on the agenda?
Invitation, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the, no, but it's a notice to award, so.
It's just been awarded already, right?
No,
Hasn't
it's
been-
intent.
Hasn't
It's
been
just a
awarded
notice
yet.
Just
to
a note
award.
of intent, of intent.
Notes.
So-
Notice of intent.
Like if we're discussing, is that okay?
I would refrain from right now because all of our other discussions have been behind closed doors. And when we're ready to talk about it and publicize, then we should do that at a later time.
Thank you.
I also agree, because you're talking 3 different bidders, right? They have
Yeah.
specific, requirements that they put in their specific bid.
So just for the record, we're just talking about accessibility and things like that, but.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that,
Yeah, okay.
but to
Alright,
talk
so-
specific, we should.
Good amount.
Maria, look into that and review it again with legal counsel,
Right.
right?
Very good point.
Thank you, Commissioner Sabel. Okay, so. Done with that. Okay, now for the second to the last item. New business, the executive director's pay adjustment.
Madam Chair, legal counsel Vince and I had long discussions, and one of the things is that in the past, the Department of Administration Human Resources Division guided us to put in 3.1%. If you look at page 39, actually, the executive pay plan where my position is E, letter P as in Papa, middle of the page. And so legal counsel advised me to look for something that talks about 3.1% for the executive pay plan. He and I could not find anything, so his guidance was to see what it takes to change the pay grade. And so HR says that we need to request for a change in the pay grade, and it would be up to the commission to sign a letter or memo to them requesting for a change in the pay grade and to submit all the documents. Legal counsel Vince was talking about pay grade S. I requested for, so if we know that my job description is actually in Chapter 2 of Title 3, and it's pretty detailed, so I would just submit that part. Most of my job description is in Chapter 2 of our election code. That's what's required, a job description. And then we just turn it into Department of Administration Director, because that's what the Competitive Wage Act says. He's the holder of the pay grade system.
But Maria, it's in the law, we had this discussion previously when we were speaking about your pay. The commissioners have the authority to determine.
Within the law. And within the law.
Yeah, it is within the law,
Well.
it's our authority.
Well, if legal, if I may.
Yes, you may, legal counsel.
If you look at page 41, Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are an unclassified employee, correct?
Yes.
And so pay adjustments, it only, actually, if you also go back to page 38, and Maria, you are classified as an EP, which is on page 44, it says that you're an EP. So if you look at this pay schedule, it goes all the way up to step 13,
Only.
right? And if you go back to page 41 that says unclassified employees, pay adjustments beyond step 10 may be granted at the discretion of the appointing authority and shall require performance evaluation. So that's what's been going on. But again, if you go back to page 38, it stops at step 13. There's nothing in the law that says you can go beyond that. And I think when you spoke with Department of Administration, the 3.1% pay increase actually came from, going back to 41, that 3.1 increase in pay is for classified employees, which is not what Maria falls under. So the basis for Attorney Camacho's recommendation that we go back to DOA and have them look at her job title and see if she qualifies for a different pay grade is so that we can put her in a proper step that allows for a higher pay for the future. So we were looking at a number right now that corresponds to the 97,000 salary. And so that's why we were looking at pay grade ES. And so Maria, it sounds like you spoke to DOA regarding the process to
Yes.
apply for a different pay grade so that we are still within the realm of this particular schedule.
You're currently at EP 18.
Yes, but,
Okay.
but at EP 18 is, there's really not.
I'm sorry?
There's no movement.
Well, the amount is, it may not be called EP 18, but that's the amount you're at.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then tonight, just in case I don't want to make sure I didn't miss it, are we being asked to approve a new number or just to have this go back to?
Change of grade.
To go back to the Department of Administration to move her to a grade that is close to what she's at now in terms of pay, so that for future discussions regarding her pay grade, we can still be within the scale, the proper scale.
Okay.
Do you need a motion for that, Maria, or can legal counsel, okay?
We need a motion because the commission needs to request to Department of Administration to take a look at the position and to regrade the position.
Is that
No.
a desk audit?
No, desk audits, it's equivalent to a desk audit, but desk audit is specific for classified
This is
positions.
on classified
Now,
position.
we don't want DOA to look at the position. What we're asking is, we already have your position description. We've got your performance evaluation. What we're gonna ask DOA, because I just need to clarify, be clear on this, right, is we're gonna ask DOA to move her to ES grade, to move the grade.
Assuming she fits within that particular job description.
Right, I was gonna
So-
say, it corresponds with.
Yeah. So her job description corresponds, fits into the ES grade. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna ask the Department of Administration to move that, right?
Actually,
Or approve it, or,
it's my understanding that we don't know exactly what that job description is. They know it, and so.
They don't know it.
They don't know.
They don't have job descriptions for unclassified positions.
so what we need to do is we're gonna, in Title 3, is it Maria?
I'm sorry?
In Title 3,
Yes.
Chapter 2, Title 3, we're going to, I apologize, right, just in my mind, the process, right, is we're going to take that, we're gonna put it with the pay plan, and we're gonna say Department of Administration, this is her job description, we would like to move this position
To this.
up to ES.
Yes.
Yeah, it's more fitting that way,
Yes.
right?
I think in the other things, I talked with legal counsel Vince, but we didn't come to a conclusion about how other agency heads are slotted.
Yeah.
So I requested with from Department of Administration, so we can see, what's more like an executive director of GDC versus, there's like about 48 of them on the list. I have an old one some time back when it was under the Calvo administration. I requested for a new one. So that too may be something to look at to slot, because they are anywhere from, I think, O to U,
Yeah.
right?
A lot of the
Yeah.
directors are you.
You.
Or we're asking DOA for ES, right?
I'm sorry?
we're asking DOA to review ES, not EU, right?
Right.
It's up to the board, yeah, yes, but,
Well, it would really be up to DOA to decide what's the most fitting letter, the grade. Because they were the ones who assigned these.
Well, if there's no classification, if there's for unclassified, right,
These
there's
are
no
all
job
unclassified.
It's
description.
all,
I know, but if there's no job description. So my concern there is DOA boxing us in, right? My concern is that, you know, that we get boxed into this and you're shortchanged, right? Because I think for me, my goal is, I've given a good performance evaluation, she deserves a good performance evaluation, she deserves the adjustment, all right? I understand that we have to make these decisions within the parameters of the law, so I just don't want us to be boxed in and we get a letter that says, no, it's not eligible, we can't do that, and no, there's no pay increase, you know? I mean, you do the work, you do it well, you deserve to get paid, right? Just payment. So that being said, I don't know how the other commissioners feel. Legal, give us your guidance. What is it that, you know,
What are we asking DOA?
what are we gonna ask, and be careful with what we
They'd
ask,
have to go back to
right?
Title II, Chapter 3.
Right, I think at this point in time, we need to do a little bit more research to see how DOA operates and how they classify who fits into a particular pay grade before before the commission actually writes that letter to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think based on what you've said, we need to do a little bit more research to ensure that she is not.
Boxed in, like I
Boxed
said.
So table it for the moment?
Yes.
so legal counsel Vince and I tried to get something like that, but they
There's
don't
no
have
other.
it. Yeah, and I was told that there was no, this was all based on the Hay study, and there was nothing about the Guam Election Commission Executive Director back in 2014.
But what is, I guess for legal, what was it about section 3(4)B that is making us not just approve this as the board?
Yeah.
That she be slotted past the 10. So the interpretation here for step 10 shall be maximum step for slotting. That is when she first came in as executive director. Maria is not new. So any further adjustment, it says here, is at the appointing authority, which I believe is the board. So why can't we, just as a board, vote to move those steps forward now? She has the performance evaluation like it's required. She's not new. The only restriction, because we hire unclassified as well in our agency, when you're bringing them in for the first time, you cannot pass step 10.
Yeah.
That's what this is saying. Subsequent years with performance evaluations are not prohibited to move past the 10.
Right, based on how we read it, we still have to follow, we have to go through this particular pay plan. And so since there's nothing passed for an EP past step 13, I don't believe that the board can go past 13 and start doing a 3.1% increase, which is what is recommended for a classified
Right,
employee.
so maybe one of the things to ask, without a letter, but to just ask the Department of Administration is, at what point does it move to the next grade naturally? So, because if it just keeps going and you go off the scale, so to speak, you move to a different letter at some point, because it stops at the steps, right? The steps end, and you can't say that a person will stop getting increments if they're continuing to do the work.
I agree. I mean, there's got to be a trigger point, right?
Right,
as
so
to
you should
when-
make that your question to Department of Administration. At what point does P become Q? And do we then slot that step into the closest, right? So if the last is the 14, what is the closest to 14 on the Q? And that's where you would start and give the increments from there.
The other thing too, I think, is within the board authority as well. You know, so we should go back and say, is this something that the board can do on its own authority? You know, do we need DOA to approve it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in 4B, yeah, 4B,
Or B,
clarifies.
The board is ultimately fiduciarily responsible, right?
right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I just can't imagine we have carte blanche. There must be some limit on what,
There's a trigger, absolutely.
you
So we need to find out what that trigger would be.
I think because the status of a classified
Mhm.
position is what is the.
What
Yes.
triggers the law to allow, the board to move forward on the decision?
Well, this triggers the board, this gives the board
Says
the
appointing
authority,
authority.
we're the appointing authority. However, I think the question is,
The
within,
pay scale?
yeah,
Within the-
what,
Right.
within what parameters, right? Do we-
We
So
don't
that's,
want
that's
DOA
the,
to box us in
you know,
there.
we
Once
don't
it's
wanna-
said,
you know-
Once it did that, we're in shit.
But
Look
Carissa
at what's
is
fair and
absolutely
fair.
correct, and there's got to be something, that allows us to move forward. We cannot, theoretically, hold a person in one position
Right.
forever and ever and
You'll
ever.
never retain
Yeah.
good
But
employees.
it's no different than the autonomous agencies that have boards that accept.
So is
Are the ones that
salaries.
approve.
yeah.
know.
So Jerry, you're gonna work on that, and then what we'll do is, we can table this, bring it in for old business in the next,
We can discuss it. Thank you,
Thank
Jerry.
you. Thank you, Commissioners. And Maria, understand that we don't want to delay this, but we understand that, we're trying to be conscientious.
Do it right.
We wanna do it right so that we don't wanna
Mindful of it.
go back and forth.
All right, any other discussions or questions with regard to any of the items here before I move to legal report? Legal counsel report?
I have
None?
nothing to report.
Nothing, oh, that's great. Nothing to report, yay. We're not being sued yet. Okay.
Is it coming?
Always anticipate that. Right, so, any public comment? Members of the public wish to discuss, ask questions? None? Okay, no public comments.
You know,
So,
May I
yes, sir.
ask, since we're live streaming this, is there a way for the public to write in questions or comments?
no,
You're looking
No,
at
I-
Facebook.
You have to
Yes.
show up to make public comments?
yes, right now. So we can ask legal counsel
So
to
it's
look
not
into
like
that.
a-
Yeah. But right now, our understanding experience is,
Yes, that'd
if you
be,
want,
yeah.
public comments, that they would be present.
Okay, that's fine.
I think a big part of that is, proof of identity, the actual person. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Seville. So, our next meeting would be, what's today?
If you wish, ma'am, this was an April meeting, the next meeting, May 19th, or we can meet later.
Is there anything that's pressing that would need our attention ASAP?
Not right now, ma'am.
Members, did you want to meet May 19th? We can move till June? Let's see.
May 19th.
June what?
I'm gonna be on fire from June
What
15
June?
through July 21.
So we're
What were
gonna
the
meet on the
dates, ma'am?
19th.
What were the dates?
June 15 through July 21. I return on the evening of the 21st.
June 15th to the 22nd.
All right, so then that would give us like June 9th.
I will, if you're meeting in June, July 11.
Yes, you want to do June 9th, so that you're here?
I'm
Before you
not
leave.
fine
Before you leave, is that okay?
June
So
9th.
when I think-
That's fine.
Is that okay
Only
with
that
Commissioners?
week.
June
Just
9th.
And then, yeah, June 9th, that gives them time, and then after that, Commissioners, just be aware, June 28th,
I'm not fine.
She's off Friday. So,
But just that week. It's actually just.
You know,
4 days.
okay.
Could we set this up so that, I mean, I realize everybody has travel plans.
I don't,
That,
I can't leave,
sorry,
I'm not allowed to leave.
your time will come. That if commissioners are traveling, they could attend by Zoom.
Oh, yeah, so we have to,
They just can't
I
vote.
think we have to,
Well, I don't know, we
Right.
voted by Zoom
Sometimes-
when we did
I
Zoom
don't think we're
meetings.
supposed to vote by Zoom. I don't we have to be present to vote.
Also, is it based on, the emergency declaration?
Or that was, yeah.
Under emergency declaration, you have that
Yeah.
privilege. If we're not under emergency, is that now?
no, we're
not
still in
applied?
emergency. There's still an emergency declaration.
Okay, so we can still do Zoom then?
June 2nd.
Yeah, yeah, we can, but
And she can still vote?
That's a good time.
If
Legal?
she has not.
I think we have to just determine for our next meeting how we're going, if we're gonna be in person and or Zoom, and if we're gonna allow, if there's any motions that need to be voted on, if we're gonna allow those on Zoom to vote
Right. For the next meeting.
for the next meeting. So we make that determination here.
Yes.
We can do that.
Because I can understand Zoom
Or
if you're
can we
on
just,
island. But if you're
move
off
the meeting to
island,
June second,
I mean,
because
Zoom
it's
is,
Thursday,
Yeah.
and it's.
would there be a
we're
difference
all
or,
here.
because they're not here physically?
I don't think it matters if you're on island or off island.
Your
Because I
first
remember having this discussion where you voted to do Zoom. I just don't recall what the parameters were for that.
Okay.
But everybody was on Zoom.
How about for like,
Yeah.
why don't we have the meeting on June 2nd and legal counsel will research that?
Yeah.
Also to research public comments
Okay.
via
Since, yeah.
June 2nd, would that be okay?
June 2nd.
So
You're not
everybody will
going
be here.
anywhere either?
Yay.
I see.
We got this. Just working.
That's in 4 weeks.
Yeah, we got you.
Right? So June 2nd? June 2nd, 5:30. Okay, let me get that down. At 5:30 PM, okay? All right. So, no further questions or discussions. The meeting of the Guam Election Commission is adjourned until Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, 5:30 PM at the Guam Election Commission GC Conference Room, second floor, Oka Building, Tamuning, Guam.
All right.
Thank
Thank you. Second.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Second.
That's always the fastest.
We're done.
Nobody wants to stay any longer than we have to.
Chairperson,
We're on.